Mark? Don't you have a button over there to hit somewhere?
It should be okay.
Mark?
Yes.
There you go. I'm sorry. Excuse me, please. I have a trainee producer here, and he didn't hit the right button.
Not a problem.
No, well, I thought maybe, do you have an opening for kind of an apprenticeship?
Do I have an opening for an apprenticeship? Oh, add that to the list of things that I do.
Yeah. Well, you do quite a bit. How are you doing in your quest for the 5th District?
Oh, everything is going very, very well. Thank you very, very much.
I've been trying to brief the listenership in terms of what you're doing. I did not go over who your opponents were in the primary because I figure we can talk about that. But I'm not really interested in who you're running against because I think you're probably the best guy for the title. So we're going to pretend that you're going to take it.
Oh, I appreciate that very much.
Okay, you are a Republican. You are in your early mid-50s?
Oh, 57 going on 58.
All right, so you got more stripes than I thought, but you're still in your 50s.
Yeah.
Out of college, second or third year out of college, you were able to put together a formula for making a great deal of money in the real estate world. You were able to go and buy apartment houses in certain areas of New York, and you took the apartment houses and upgraded them, fixed them, did whatever you have to do, and turned them into condominiums and sold them as condominiums, and then you acted as the management group for those condominiums, and you just replicated that for a number of different apartment units and houses and did very well financially. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know if I did as well financially as you indicated at the very beginning, but I did create a formula for buying rental properties in New York City and then converting them to either co-op or condominium ownership. And at one point in time, in my mid-20s, I was buying and then converting probably a building a month. So I was extremely active doing that in my earlier years, yes.
And it was financially successful for you?
I'm a product of the American dream. I started with nothing, and
here you are,
successful doing that. I'm proud of it, and I don't make any apologies for it. And it's given me the ability to give back to the community through the Simon Foundation, my dog adoption, dog rescue foundation, and in running for Congress. And hopefully I'll be able to provide some leadership down there and fix the way things are in D.C. Now,
do you realize when you go to Congress, and I just mentioned that, when you go to Congress, you're going to be basically junior? You're going to, they'll look at you and say, hey, kid, regardless of how old you are, because it's a seniority system they work under?
Yeah, well, they'll say kid to me, but then I'll say kid back because I think that my leadership qualities will be able to bring some strong points and strong leadership in D.C., and I know that they're not going to expect that I'm going to be staying around long enough to gain this seniority, but I'll be able to do a lot with the knowledge that I have in business and the knowledge I have of bringing people along my way through my leadership capabilities.
One of the things that you're doing, and that's really what attracted me to your candidacy, is you've come up with a list of what I will do, and one of them is self-imposed term limits. Well, the Senate gives you a 6-year term, so are you restricting yourself to 2 terms, 3 terms? What are you saying?
Well, I'm running for the Congress, and of course...
I'm sorry, Congress.
Yeah, Congress is 2-year terms. By the way, I think that should probably be changed to 4-year terms because the burden of running every 2 years, especially with the money influences, is not good. So I would advocate 2 4-year terms, but since we have 2-year terms at this point in time, I'd be serving no more than 4 2-year terms, total of 8 years.
8 years.
Yes.
And also, you would indicate, and I like that other kind of guarantee, is that you would look to make Congress have to adhere to the laws they passed regardless.
Well, absolutely, and this is something that came to my attention fairly recently, I think during my first run for Congress, And I find it striking and fairly unbelievable that the folks that we send to Washington exempt themselves from the very laws that they pass for everybody else. And really what they're saying by doing that is, we're better than you. And I don't think that the people in this district, this state, or this country are going to put up with that anymore. They are not better than we are. They are what we are. They are us. That's what was intended.
That was the whole point.
Well, that was the whole point, in the 1700s, 1800s, that we'd send folks to Washington who represented the people back home, whether at the time they were farmers or they were in the factories or whatever they were doing at the time. They were basically representatives. That's where we get the House of Representatives. They were representing what the folks at home were doing. And that has gone so far away from that original theory. Folks right now go down as people of honest means and come back from Congress or the Senate as millionaires. So you have to scratch your head and wonder, what are they doing down there? They're in the business of politics down there, and they're benefiting themselves. So it's their job, basically.
Yes, and that's something, it's supposed to be their job, but it's also supposed to be a calling. I mean, you're supposed to be doing something on a broader basis for a bigger kind of theoretical philosophy, and that seems to have been lost.
It's lost completely.
Yeah, it's like Abe Lincoln was representative, I believe, for one term. I don't think he made two, but he was an adamant opponent to the American-Mexican War in 1846, and basically was highly critical of the president for getting us into that war and conducting the war, that he really was an advocate that the president should be impeached. And when he went back home to Illinois, they didn't sit there and say, "Attaboy." They said, "You're out of here."
Yeah.
Because the country liked the war, and they felt it was something that had to happen. And so he acted in his good faith. He acted for what he believed in was good for the country. And not good for him, because he lost his job. They basically threw him out.
Yes, yes. Now, when we talk about term limits also, we're fixing a lot of problems down there. You talked earlier about seniority, that those folks down there who have the greatest seniority get the plum seats and chairmanships on the committees. Well, just because they're senior and they've been down for that many years doesn't mean they're best qualified to determine what the budget should be. It seems to me that if we have term limits, we'll have the people most qualified holding those key chairmanships, as opposed to the person who happened to have been reelected 10 times. So term limits does do a lot to fix the problems in Washington and fix some of the corruption that we have in Washington.
Well, how can you, as a junior senator, a junior congressman, how can you get in there and make changes to something as elaborate and as long-standing as seniority? Seniority is a fabric and fiber of the Congress.
Well, you start by trying to implement term limits. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that the folks who are in Congress now are going to term limit themselves. But I do believe that there could be a movement to term limit people coming in after them. So eventually the problem would be solved. Look, you solve all this stuff with term limits. I really do believe that. At one point in time, the presidency was allowed to have term upon term upon term with FDR, and then we had term limits, and the presidency is term limited to 2 4-year terms. I don't think that it's an impossible thing to do, and that's why I'm going to be a strong proponent to do that. They have an expression that says, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." Confucius said that. And you have to start somewhere. You have to believe that you can make a difference. I am a true believer in the great man theory, and I think that one person can start the thing rolling. And I hope.
Well, they did do it. They did try to impact and affect that in '92. Gingrich sat there and had a contract with America, and one of the things he put in there was term limits. And some of the guys that came into the Congress were absolutely advocating term limits and swore on a Bible that they would do it, they're still there. I mean, once you get into the land of Oz, it's tough to leave.
Well,
it really is.
Yeah.
Listen, let me go to break, and when I come back, we'll talk a little bit more about what else you think should be done, because I really appreciate the fact that you even talk about them. There are a number of issues that many people sit there and shake their head as far as Congress is concerned. This is the Phil Mikan Show. I have Mark Greenberg with us, who is running in the Republican primaries for the 5th District Congressional seat, and I think he's a good candidate. We'll be right back.
Email Phil at his new address, phil@philmikan.com.
This is the Phil Mikan Show. We have Mr. Mark Greenberg with us. At least I hope we do. Are you there, Mark?
I'm here. Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, it's just, sometimes Barry will slip the switch and you'll go off into the cosmos. If that happens, we will get right back to you, I promise. What are the other promises that you have in terms of what you'll attempt to get the Congress to do? One was that they would have to adhere to any law they passed, which I think is just mind-boggling that they exempt themselves.
Yes.
Well, one of the laws they exempt themselves from is the inside trader law, trading law. That's good. Slip of the tongue. Inside trading is if Mark were to call me and say, "Look, Phil, I'm going to be selling my company probably on Tuesday, and I'm getting a really good price. Nobody else really knows about it. but it's going to be with IBM. It's going to pick us up. That's insider trading, and if I went out and bought 1,000 shares of Mr. Greenberg's company, I'm subject to penalties, interest, and jail time. Congress is not. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's just one of many, many instances. And in the Obamacare 2,700-page disastrous law that was signed 2 years ago, members of Congress are exempted from Obamacare as well.
And they promised we're gonna be part of this. We're going to be part of this. Many of them just stood there and said, no, we're going to be part of it. And have we as a population forgotten the Obamacare bill? Are we anesthetized? What the heck's going on?
No, I think what happens is that people do have very, very short memories, unfortunately. And a lot of these folks who run for Congress and who are in elected office realize that the people that they represent have short memories, and that they're not going to forget. They're going to forget the promises they made. They're going to be minimalized, and they're not going to be held accountable for those promises. Unfortunately, they're probably right in some instances, because we do have very, very limited short memories.
Unlike an Abe Lincoln's constituency that didn't like him not supporting the president of the time, and they got rid of him.
Yeah.
You know, the House of Representatives was always supposed to be a swinging gate. You were never supposed to be in there forever and ever and ever. It was strictly a swinging gate, and when you had done your thing, or when issues that you were interested in were taken care of, you got out.
Yeah, well, it's completely different nowadays, of course. I think that was the reason why we had 2-year terms. The populace at the time had the capability of just voting you out. Of course, money wasn't so pervasive then, and right now, incumbency is so strong, and the power of money, the power of PACs, and the power of these folks to determine what their representatives are going to vote on issues has become all-consuming, really. It's really out of hand. And that's one reason why I think we should have 4-year terms for
Congress.
Represents, yeah, as opposed to 2-year terms. So then, basically, you're running for re-election only once, and the power of the money will be much, much reduced if you're running for re-election only once.
Well, that sounds good, but there's too good a thing going there. I've been down to Washington a number of times, Mr. Greenberg, and the one thing that is very obvious is the guys that are sitting in the Congressional House of Representatives at their little desk with the big badges on their lapel. They all wear lapel buttons now identifying themselves. They love it. They love it. I mean, it's like the guys who are president. They love it. You know, Bill Clinton is not unique in that he loved being president, and you know, he's never gotten out of the limelight. He broke a major tradition by sitting there and coming back and acting as an expert and like that. But anybody that has that job or is in that, there's only 545 guys, whatever the total number is. It's not more than that.
Yeah.
That between Congress and the Senate, that's a really microscopic percentage of the population, and they control so much that it's easy to sit there and go to the land of Oz and go native, and they do.
Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Well, do you remember your Bible readings? Can you find me 10 good men or 10 honest men? Can you find a number of representatives in the House of Representatives that will put something like this on the ballot, and not only that, but vote it in and then get it through the Senate?
Well, I do think that there is a new crop of freshman Republican congressmen who, at least at this point in time, are not completely corrupted, and they would be amenable to listening to this and trying to work on this. Look, I don't think I'm the only one in America who wants to go down and do the right thing. I think there are a lot of...
Yes, I agree.
There are a lot of folks down there now who want to do the right thing, but we can't leave them down there too long, because then the power does get to them. It seems to have, at least historically.
Well, when you sit there and you understand this because you've had your own company, but when you sit there and basically are running a company where you're given, I think it's about a $2.5 million budget that the congressional delegations get, and that's for an office not only in Washington but for an office also in their section or their area, with staff included. So and then the staff that's there, you have total termination of these people. You can fire them without a moment's notice. You just say get out, and they have no recourse.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very heady, powerful place to be, where everybody is kind of posturing to make you think you're the brightest person in the world.
Well, it's not only that, but when you're in Congress, everybody loves you. You know, it's you'd be surprised, I think, of how many friends you pick up just by being elected to office down there.
Well, it's a pretty heady position. I had a congressional a member of Congress who was a friend of mine, and he basically did the ropes and got up through the ranks and went from a commissioner to this to that, and ran one of the first primaries that was thrown up for a congressional seat, and he won, and he was there for life if he wanted it. And basically he said, Phil, it's the greatest job in the world. It's the greatest job in the world. And I was stunned when he said it just that way. He thought of it as a job.
Yeah, well, that's what I said to you. It's the business of politics.
Yeah.
When they have they get these great jobs, they want to keep these great jobs.
Yeah, and that's really what you're fighting.
That's really what you're fighting. You're fighting their desire to keep this job for life, and it is a great job. It's a job that you do wield some power. Everybody loves you. Everybody's your friend, and it becomes
you vote on your own raise. I love it. Listen, I got one final break. Let me do that, and we'll do a summation here. Mark Greenberg is a good man, and he likes dogs and cats. We'll talk about that a little bit when we get back. This is the Phil Mikan Show. Be right back.
Phil at philmikan.com will get you to Phil.
This is the Phil Mikan Show. I have Mark Greenberg with me, who is primarying in the Republican Party for the 5th District congressional seat. And that comes up. How is your overall effort going?
Oh, this time around it's going really, really very well. This run is completely different from the last run. Last time around I got in very late in November, and I was a neophyte, of course, and never been in politics. And I had to learn everything from scratch. I keep on saying that's the business of politics, and that's really what it is. It's like any other business.
Oh, yeah, there are rules, regulations, the whole bit. Oh, absolutely.
Well, you have to learn what you're doing. You have
Right.
to create alliances with some folks who are in positions of power at the RTC level. During the first round, I don't think I was too successful doing that, at least at the RTC level.
Well, you like you said, you had an abbreviated run. I mean, you were... November is kind of a short jump.
Well, it was an abbreviated run, but also I was a complete outsider, so I didn't have any of the bona fides that normally candidates do, who may be coming from the Senate or from the House of Representatives in Connecticut.
What town do you live in?
I live in Litchfield.
Yeah, and it's is there going to be any change in your district with this new district reshifting or
No. As a
redefinition?
matter of fact, the Republicans lost that battle last Friday when the judge handed down a...
Basically, I thought they said they're going to keep it the way it is.
No, that's exactly right. I think they're adding 475 people in the north portion of Torrington, north of where the line is right now. So the district is going to be virtually the same as what you have now. So we're going to have 10 more years of the gerrymandered 2001 lines, which...
Yeah, it really is a strange configuration for districts.
Yeah, it was...
I look at the map and I say, this had to be done on a Friday night after the bars closed because it's strange.
Well, it was done to accommodate two sitting congressmen or congresswomen at the time, and that was Jim Maloney and Nancy Johnson. So the gerrymandering occurred in 2001, and now we have to unfortunately live with it for another 10 years.
And both those Congress people are gone.
Right.
Nancy Johnson is gone, and the other one is history. I think you got a good shot at doing this. I think you really should tell the people you're basically talking about a contract with your constituents, and I think that can catch on. I think that's something that can be replicated.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. By the way, with the Contract of America years ago, they could have self-imposed term limits on themselves, but they didn't. They simply said in the contract that they would work toward term limits, and of course we know what happened with that. In my pledge, I'm self-imposing this upon myself.
Well, there were some very good junior guys that came in that wave, and in some instances, I think it might be better that we didn't lose them. But that's really what you're dealing with. It's like, do you want a surgeon who is operating on your brain, a brain surgeon, and he has been doing it for 25 years and really knows how to do it, or do you want somebody that is doing it after 4 or 5 or 6 years? And that's part of the thinking many people have with seniority, that the senior members tend to know the ins and outs and how to make compromise happen. I don't know that I buy all of that.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you think Dodd and Frank's, what was their knowledge base to come up with the Dodd-Frank's laws? And
I don't know that they did. I think there was an awful lot of staff input in that, and Dodd and Frank both were on the Finance Committee forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, my point is, though, this was not their area of expertise.
Not at all.
In their normal life.
No, not at all.
They got into this position of power and seniority on those committees because of seniority, as you pointed out, not because they were the best at that.
Right, and Dodd and the Dodd-Frank bill is a disaster.
Of course it is.
It is. Listen, we're going to have you back, Mark, I promise, and we'll have you back on a longer notice.
That's okay. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and your listeners, and I'd be happy to come back at any time.
You can depend on it. This is the Phil Mikan Show. We've just had Mark Greenberg with us. He's running for the 5th Congressional District seat He's going to be primary. I don't know when the date of the primary is, but it'll be an interesting one. All right, people. Have a good day. Tomorrow we're going to do eats. We're going to learn about how to bake a pie or something. It'll be a good show. See you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to 1420 WLISAM Old Saybrook.